Good day. You're welcome to join us on the program Newsroom on CANAL English. Traditional rulers of the southwest region of the country say Governor Bernard Okala-Bilai cannot order them around as children in their own land. The Senate released this week telling the governor of the southwest of Cameroon that they will not march on the 20th of May as instructed by Bernard Okala-Bilai. Meantime, Ayuk Tabe Julius Sisiko in his prison cell in Yaoundé says he have dissolved the caretaker interim government that was put in place after he was imprisoned. He mentioned that the government that existed prior to his imprisonment will take over activities for the struggle of the restoration of Ambazina statehood. And in this very edition of the program Newsroom, we shall equally talk about the freedom of press in Cameroon. Journalists and other media workers in the country say there is no freedom of expression or freedom of the press as journalists are being targeted, most especially by members of government and the other top personalities in the society. I am Dominic. Stay with us. Let's get our top stories for this week in the following write-up.
Ayuk Tabe Julius Sisik breaks the silence from his tiny prison cell in Yaoundé this week by dissolving the caretaker interim government of the Ambazina Republic. In a two-page well-typed document carrying the signature of Ayuk Tabe Julius, he says members of the caretaker cabinet have lost focus in the process of fighting for the restoration of Ambazina statehood. Ayuk Tabe Julius Sisiko reconstitutes and reinstalled the government that existed prior to the arrest of the leaders in January 2018 with him as president. He calls on the people of southern Cameroon to remain committed to the struggle. How will this decision affect the fight to gain independence? Newsroom intellectuals explain all you need to know in this edition. Traditional rulers in the southwest region of Cameroon tells Governor Bernard Okala-Bilai straight to his face that he cannot impose laws on them in their land. In a release signed by His Royal Highness Mafani Peter Nje says they will not march on the 20th of May as instructed by Governor Bernard Okala-Bilai of the southwest region of Cameroon. Commentators say the battle line is drawn between the chiefs and the governor. Newsroom examines the reaction of the chiefs in the context of insecurity and politicized policies. Journalists and media workers in Cameroon decry continued violation of press freedom. Commemorating World Press Freedom Day this week, journalists say the stagnant development of Cameroon, no accountability in the management of state affairs, insecurity and all other vices springs from weakening press organized by the regime. What is left of press freedom in Cameroon is our focus this day. This is Newsroom on CANAL English, trusted for information flow and analysis.
Thank you for staying with us. Welcome our guests that will be debating on topics we put on the table this day. Welcome Abdul Karim, you are a Muslim scholar of the Bible. Thank you for coming, sir.
Thanks for inviting me and thanks for having me.
We're happy to have you today once again to deliberate issues concerning the country and most especially what is happening in the country Cameroon today. Let's talk about the kidnapped and subsequent release of chairman of the Social Democratic Front, Nijan Fundi. He spent over 7 hours in the hands of boys identified as Ambazina fighters. That was when he was heading, leading a convoy to the burial of the late Honorable Joseph Banazem Lukon in Makumbo in the northwest region of the country. After that, many people think that, or some critics think that the kidnap of Nijan Fundi was faked by the political party in order to gain international and national sympathy. What is your take on such comments following the kidnap of Nijan Fundi?
Right, I'd like to begin by praising God and ask him to send his blessings upon his prophets like Moses, Jesus, and Muhammad, peace be upon them all. And to righteous men and women who've lived, and to the dear panelists, to yourself, journalist Meme, and to the televiewers of CANAL English, precisely this program. Newsroom, We've heard from Newsroom Fundi. We've heard from the alleged quote-unquote kidnappers. It wasn't a kidnap. There was an invitation to dialogue. We know what a kidnap is. A kidnapper always makes the claim that I've kidnapped, and he asked for ransom. There was a dialogue. We've seen footages of the dialogue, what actually occurred. We've seen the chairman of the so-called SDF enjoying himself with them, drinking from a canned bottle. So you wouldn't term that as a dialogue, as a kidnap. I don't find it as a kidnap. And the message is clear. They wanted, in my opinion, to understand his position regarding having parliamentarians and senators representing themselves and not anyone in the southern Cameroons in parliaments and senate houses of La République du Cameroon. That's exactly what they want to, and he gave them the answer that he's a staunch, stubborn person and he will not listen, that they are going to represent themselves and no one else. He gave them the simple answer and he left. So to me, that is very clear about the invitation and the dialogue that went on between Newsroom Fundi and the restoration forces. So it was a very sweet intellectual dialogue. They listened to him, they addressed him as per, and later on he went back home and he's made his position very clear to everyone to know.
But when you talk about an invitation, many people believe that that's not true because it was actually taken out of the convoy that was leading for the burial of Honorable Joseph Banazem. Can we term that an invitation because we believe that it was taken against his will?
Now you can call it a convocation, an invitation, whatever, formal, informal, and so on, under duress, whatever it is, it was an invitation. It could be a forceful invitation, but he didn't say he was forcefully taken, he was invited. Come, let's talk, and he went and spoke. By the way, if they asked him to come, whole and glory, would he go? That's the question. So let's stop spinning things. That was a very clear invitation, and he went and attended, and he had a dialogue. And they left him and he went home. So it's an invitation. If it was a kidnaps usually go with ransom demands. This was an intellectual dialogue. Come, let's talk. And he went and they spoke. You should know, let's stop pretending. We are in a tyrannic environment. You, as a journalist who is protected to speak, don't have the right to speak as a Southern Cameroonian. Talk less of me, who is a public opinion speaker, not to talk of guys who are defending themselves. So they couldn't come plainly and openly to have this conversation. Let's be clear, let's follow facts on the ground, let's follow reality, and the reality is that was the only chance they had to speak with the man that has people representing themselves instead of representing the population. So to me, it was a fair inference from the side of the restoration forces, and of course it was a fair response according to Fundi, which makes everyone knows his position. It's important to know the position of people in circumstances like this.
And John Fundi has promised to write to the President of the Republic that after it was taken, after his discussion with the boys, his mentioned that he's going to write to President Paul to discuss more about the situation in the country, Cameroon. Time for Elvis. Thank you for coming, sir.
Well, it's my pleasure marking present this day when we have critical issues on boards to look at. And I think the important point is that I'm coming from the Southwest region where I have been monitoring things on the ground. And the temperature appears not to be too good from what I witnessed on the ground yesterday, Friday. And of course, I think that issues are boiling on the ground between tradition and administration.
It's one of our topics we will be dwelling on this day, but let's find out from you. Late yesterday, that is Friday, the chairman of the National Commission for the Promotion of Bilingualism and Multiculturalism signed a release indicating that they have never adopted a point to wipe out the words Anglophones and Francophones in the country Cameroon as earlier circulated on the social media. What do you make of this controversial information given by the we are getting from the National Commission of Bilingualism and Multiculturalism?
The main thing we'll be asking is, when is that communique coming? Since the last communique came out. Now, it should be telling that it's more than 4 or 5 days ago. Now, the question now is Bilingualism Commission serious? That's why I said that when you create things that are not of any importance, and you put the wrong people there, you are bound to get wrong results. Now, we are at a period in time where a committee comes up that they are proposing a new ministry. They're talking about that they are not banning, they have never banned the usage of Anglophone and Francophone words in the system. All right. Now, a proactive organization made up of people of value, people who mean business, and people who are quite apt in that domain will not wait more than 80 hours later to make a communique. They are not serious, so they should get back to school.
Thank you so much for being there. Let's welcome Naku Jute. Journalist, thank you for coming, Jute.
It's a pleasure, Dominic, to be on the panel for the very first time. I must commend the work you've been doing here with your team. It's been so good, so far so good.
Thank you. This week they commemorated the 133rd edition of the International Labour Day in Cameroon. There are certain comments that the Minister of Labour and Social Security, Grigorona, made on the state television CANAL-TV, indicating that a Cameroonian can well live with a sum of 36,000 francs CFA, which is the minimum rate or minimum wage in Cameroon. What do you make of such a statement coming from the Minister of Labour and the Social Security?
It's total insult. And it's not surprising in the Cameroonian context to have administrative officials say that. I think we are in the country where people have to start getting serious. If you can look at a youth in the eye and you tell him that 36,000 francs, we live in Cameroon, in Douala. Even in Bamenda, where things are relatively cheap, you can not do anything with 36,000 francs, which is the minimum wage. I mean, these people say things like this. They are living in affluence. They speak sometimes without inadvertently. They speak some words even without knowing that they speak them. So I really do not blame him or forgive him for that, because it's not by his making, it's by what they have made the whole scenario to look like. The 6,000 francs can not pay just with house rent in this world.
Many people equally criticize him for giving a blind eye to the thousands of jobs lost in the southwest and northwest due to the Anglophone crisis during his message at the 20th Boulevard.
Many of them don't care again what happens over there in the northwest and the southwest region, which is why we are at the level of the crisis. Because if they were to give an ear to the cry of the people, even from the beginning of the crisis, there's an economic touch to the crisis which we are facing in the northwest and the southwest region. If there were people, because when I was in government for over years, I was going up and getting names like that. So if there were very serious people who have even endorsed in the crisis we have today, it's because we have greedy administrators, we have administrators who are not people-oriented, we have administrators who do not have a good leadership model, and they feel that it's about amassing for themselves, not caring about what the population has. So the youth of today in Cameroon, they can go to hell. That's their position.
Augustine Windon, journalist, Veritas Radio and Television. Thank you for coming.
It's a pleasure, Dominic Mimen. It's a pleasure meeting colleagues of Tayon Evis, Naku Jute, and of course, our very senior blended brother. I've always been very delighted meeting him on every panel.
Sure.
But he had limited his expertise to can I do English?
No, that your investment is going to come. Let's find out from you. This week, power change hands at the helm of the National Episcopal Conference. We saw new blood coming in. We see Bishop Abraham Kome is the new president of the National Episcopal Conference to be assisted by Bishop Andrew Nkei. What do you make of legacies left behind by Samuel Cleaver that's staying there for 6 years?
Beautiful question. A proud legacy. Proud legacy. I'm not just talking because I work with the Catholic Church. You know me as somebody who is critical when it's not done, and who is very positive and appreciable when it's done. The balance sheet of His Grace Samuel Cleaver at the helm of the National Episcopal Conference of the Bishops of Cameroon, the writings are on the world. You can go through it. Be it for the Anglophone crisis, this man of God with his entire team toward the northwest and the southwest region, he did not fear to go right across the borders to meet our brothers and sisters in neighboring Nigeria You're getting me? Being it the assassination of His Lordship Bishop Bauer Benoit of Bafia Diocese, he stood firm and is not changed. Even at his closing in thought-provoking address, he said they have taken judicial procedures and the church is going to wait for 10 good years to have the truth established who actually killed the Bishop of Bafia. Be it the presidential elections of 2018, the church could not be naive because the mission of the church is to stand on the part of the poor. So the church came out with criteria to conscientize Cameroonians, educate Cameroonians, evangelize Cameroonians on a right choice to do. Remember, even the anointing of kings, when Samuel went to anoint David, he made others, all right? The others were presented to him, he said, no, this is not the right person. And David was on the field, you know, railing cattle of the father. He said, no, you still have another child, Jacob. Until when David came, he said, this is the anointed one of God. And this is the prophetic mission of the church. His Grace Samuel Kleda did not do this as an individual. Remember, the National Episcopal Conference is an institution, a moral institution. He did this together with his brothers bishops. Okay? Being it at the level of addressing social, economic issues of this country here.
Do you think the National Episcopal Conference have some differences with the Bamenda Ecclesiastical Province or the Catholic Bamenda Ecclesiastical Province as far as the Anglophone crisis is concerned? Are they speaking the same voice?
I would say a blatant no. No, they are speaking the same voice.
Because, crisis?
Of course, because let me tell you, His Grace Samuel Kleda, when he told the Northwest and the Southwest regions, I'm not saying what he told us one-on-one. I want to indict the Cameroonian press by the Anglophone crisis because they have been very biased.
When it comes to
yes, because each time His Grace Samuel Kleda carried out an outing, he comes back and grants a press conference. When he came back, he said he was shocked because before he told the Northwest and the Southwest region, the notion that was given is that the bishops of the Ecclesiastical Province of Bamenda have called for school boycott. But when he reached there, he found that public schools were closed down. So he came back and said, if your own schools are closed down, why do you have to talk about the church? Okay? So they are talking the same voice. That is why you heard him. Why was he bitter in Yaoundé? He said, since the Anglophone crisis for 3 years down the road, the government have vehemently refused to listen to the bishop.
We'll see if Bishop Abraham Kome and the vice, which is Bishop Andrew Key, are going to continue the works.
They will definitely going to continue the work because each bishop have a defined mission put before him by the God of heaven.
Okay.
And that God of heaven will definitely inspire each bishop to accomplish that mission for the glory of God and for the joy of his people.
And the God of heaven has inspired more indeed to tell us what the press have been writing about this week.
One 1,850 people have been killed in the northwest and southwest regions of Cameroon since the beginning of the crisis. To Mutasong newspaper, International Crisis Group, in its latest publication this week says, in 20 months, 530,000 people have been displaced internally, with thousands of others that are refugees. The Guardian Post newspaper writes that International Crisis Group is urging Cameroon government and separatists to make key concessions to end the war. Southwest Chiefs Conference speaks fire on the governor of the Southwest region of Cameroon. The Post newspaper tells us how His Royal Highness Mafani Martin Nje, on behalf of the conference, writes to Bernardo Bilai that the governor cannot order them around India land. To the Guardian Post newspaper, Southwest Chief says they will not march on the 20th of May as instructed by Governor Okalia Bilai. The paper says the governor has not reacted to the challenge of the custodians of tradition in the southwest region of Cameroon. The unbelievable story of the kidnap and subsequent release of the chairman of the Social Democratic Front, SDF. Repair newspaper doubts the objectivity of the story while insinuating that some political games to attract internal and international sympathy is on the way. A Pervier newspaper mainly recounts the process of kidnap and release of Nijon Frundi. After 6 hours in detention and later released by people identified as Ambazonian boys, the Guardian Post says Nijon Frundi is preparing a strongly worded letter to President Paul Biya. Following the insecurity, Forum Libre newspaper says for over 100 days of being at the helm of government, Prime Minister Joseph Diongute is afraid to visit the Anglophone regions. Ayoktabe Julius Isiku dissolves the caretaker interim government. In his prison cell, he says members of the caretaker cabinet have lost focus. The paper equally writes how Barrister Ayapola Bine has condemned a resolution taken by the National Commission for the Promotion of Bilingualism and Multiculturalism to ban the words Anglophone and Francophone in Cameroon as a process of bringing about peace. The outgoing president of the National Episcopal Conference in Cameroon says the Catholic Church still trusts the judiciary in pointing those who killed Bishop Benoit Bala. To a Singer newspaper, Archbishop Samuel Kleder equally blames the government for bloodshed in the Anglophone regions of Cameroon. Le Jour newspaper says social media has amplified fake news in the world. To mark World Press Freedom Day, the paper says freedom of the press remains a myth and not a reality in Cameroon. Cameroon Tribune sings praises how decent work is advancing in Cameroon. The paper presents the Minister of Labour and Social Security saying the 36,000 minimum wage in Cameroon can sustain a family. Gregor Owona sees nothing in the minimum wage.
Stay with us to talk about press freedom in Cameroon. Is it a myth or a reality? Journalists and other media practitioners in the country this week joined others well over to commemorate World Press Freedom Day on the theme Media for Democracy, Journalism and Elections in Times of Disinformation. In a keynote message given by the Secretary General of the United Nations Organization, Antonio Guterres mentioned that close to 100 journalists were killed last year, 2018, as they go about exercising their function, and close to 100 others have been imprisoned across the world. We equally know that in Cameroon, journalists have been imprisoned. Taiva Elvis, let me start from you. When we talk about press freedom, what exactly are we talking about here?
Well, press freedom in real terms has to do with the ability to gather information, treat the information, and disseminate it following the odontology of the profession. Good. Now, we'll talk about the press freedom as per se. The issue of freedom comes in whether it does exist, because there is one part of that's the arm of the government is there to regulate, or the arm of the state known as the executive, the judiciary, and even the legislative are out to put laws that are supposed to make that word freedom exist in real terms. Now, when you put some of those components together, we start asking ourselves whether do we really have the freedom as per se. Of course, the fact that we talk about World Press Freedom Day in the first place, the theme of the celebration that I see there does not even match with Cameroon at all. So it's a misfit of the theme, because when I hear issues of democracy and then elections or whatnot, I understand that it's not the theme does not come from us. You know, the theme suits.
It's international.
It's international.
The countries commemorate.
It suits other areas, probably Europe and other like, but when it comes to areas where you have dictators, it doesn't suit, because when will you report in elections? That will change. We have done that. Nothing has changed. They continue making elections. They continue usurping powers and all the like. So apparently, we talk about democracy. As we're talking like this, it's our own contribution towards democracy, but what is changing? So when you have another man's government, and you begin to talk about freedom of press, and then you put in place that kind of thing, for Cameroon, it doesn't suit the context, not the least. So it's a waste of time.
Mbaku Jude, you are coming from the northwest of Cameroon, marked by a lot of insecurity. What is the level of press freedom you can give that exists in the northwest of Cameroon today?
It's unfortunate with what practitioners of the media industry are going through over there in the northwest region. I'm sure it's the same situation in the southwest region. I've not been on ground in the southwest region, but in the northwest region where I've practiced, and since the outbreak of the crisis, I've been on ground in the northwest region. I've been to some divisions and subdivisions. I've been capitally in the city of Bamenda, and I've witnessed it's very challenging for us, the journalists, to operate over there. The press in Bamenda is under attack, under very serious attack from not just the government, but equally from the belligerent parties of the crisis. Now we have a situation where journalists, there's no coordination. I'm talking coordination from both angles. No one cares who a journalist is, who gives information out, and all that, which makes it very difficult to work. We are on ground. You do a good job that favors the fighters. You attacked an amber journalist. You are on ground. You do good work that does not favor the fighters, or work that favors government. Depending on the truth of your analysis and the facts that you find, they begin to tap you a black leg. I'm talking about those are terminologies.
Those that are used there.
That are used there. So it's a very challenging situation. The reports you do in the Northwest, our colleagues who are watching us will tell you, we have underreported what is happening in the Northwest region because it's difficult to get information as far as the crisis is concerned. We capitally, in fact, we are just around the city of Bamenda. If we were to go beyond Bamenda and see the atrocities that are committed by government forces and the Amazonian restoration fighters in the outskirts of Bamenda, you'll be, you shed tears. You shed tears. We sit here on this panel, and like every other person who come and sit here and do analysis, people are dying over there. No one to report the truth that is happening over there because journalists do not have access to that information. So it's very challenging.
Okay, let me come to you, Augustine Wendo. Can we have press freedom where the press is free to talk, but there is no reaction on the part of the government?
Difficult because press freedom, like Elvis mentioned, has to be a guarantor by the powers that be, because the press is the fourth estate. It means that if you get the executive, the legislative, and the judiciary, the next core is the press. And a government that we want to modernize, a government that we want to, we want to image within the concept of nations, must protect the press and guarantee what is called press freedom, because we have regressed from the 90s, about 50 kilometers back from press freedom in Cameroon. If a journalist does not have access, my brother, Mr. Mbaku, was talking about, a journalist in a conflict situation. But I want to talk about the journalist in a normal situation. Like we are living in Douala, no tension, but do you have access to information? The answer is blatant no. And once a journalist is not given, the leeway to have information, you become a gangster because you speculate, because you go with sensation and sentimentalism. And when you write like that, it runs contrary to the canons of the noble profession of ethics and deontology. And for ethics and deontology to be put in place, government must give the enabling environment for the journalists to freely walk into the office of a subdivisional officer as a please, I want to get to the subdivisional officer because I want to investigate on this particular issue, and you are readily received and given what it takes. Therefore, in order, because why is it like that in Cameroon? Because from the 90s, gradually down the road, the powers that be has systematically coined journalists of the private press as enemies, as brigands. But we are not. We are partners and not collaborators. A good journalist is a partner in nation building because we are the voice of the voiceless, because we are the eyes of the blind, we are the mouthpiece of the doomed, and we conscientize society. That is why J.F. Kennedy once said, if you put the press and the state
He will take the press.
and ask him, he will take the press.
He will take the press.
And Napoleon Bonaparte once said that he feared the journalists more than 10,000 bayonets. Then the journalist is an elite.
Okay. Let me find out from you, Abdul Karim. This angle you are like, you watch and equally read from the press. What do you think is lacking in the press we have in Cameroon today because of the grip of the regime?
Everything is lacking. I'm sorry to say this, but permit me say it. Amidst the fine journalists like this, there's lack of professionalism. La République du Cameroon has a barbaric government. It's barbaric upon everyone. But there's lack of professionalism and honesty. My brother here was talking about being unable. I will go with the ideas that came from that side. But right here, being unable to perform in the Northwest region, according to him, and Southwest region, who doesn't know, because we'll be termed a black leg. Really and frankly, if you're termed a black leg, you're a black leg. You see, if you want to report fairly, we have two languages. One, people like myself refer it as Southern Zone and Northern Zone. You insist is Northwest region for them, where they get, because you're trying to favor the government. Now this is not, you are not being fair. And when they get angry with you, you call them something else. Because the truth is, for example, I have debate with Christians, with priests. You cannot start to argue with them about Trinity by wrongly defining Trinity. You need to define Trinity as they define it and have the debate. So you don't want to talk to me as a Southern Cameroonian and you wrongly define all my terms. For example, you call me a Sessionist, I'll tell you I'm not. You say Northwest region, I say it is not. You say Southwest region, I say it is not. So they don't report fairly. So they are enablers. And he writes book that people are dying. Why are the people dying? Because another person has enabled it. He just said pressmen are elite, and I agree. When you don't report fairly, when you only wait for the Musonge Commission to come so that you go and be the spokesman for it, the MC for it, so that you can get 50,000, what do you want from the people? When soldiers go in and raise a whole village, and instead of saying soldiers have raised a village, you say there is violence from both sides. Come on. I'm in my home, you come attack my parents, I defend myself, and someone comes and writes and says there's violence on both sides. You see, it doesn't make sense. We need to be sincere. I say, with every profession, you see, I don't have much to say on this. It's not my profession. I don't know it. With every profession, and by and large, we're Muslim and Christians, okay? Christians and Muslims in Cameroon, giving Christianity the larger part. Let's fear God in everything. Yeah. That's my principle. Let the fear of God come first. The fear of God means you speak the truth to its face. I am not saying we shouldn't be balanced, but I'm saying when you're an enabler, really and truly, you are.
Time for this. How do you evaluate trade unions we have in Cameroon today? And I'm talking about the press and the Equal Association of Journalists. And it will enough to ensure that we have access to information like Augustine mentioned there?
I don't even know if we have trade unions and associations in Cameroon. I don't know. Maybe you know. I happen to belong to one funny one that it's happening at the time. When I say funny, because in the celebration I thought we have been reflecting, I only saw Mingo and drinks. It was more of a party drinking, and they were asking me to contribute. Maybe let's go and have a gala to drink. I said, no, it doesn't look like that. If you saw me, people have been asking me, I think you're journalist in Rwanda, I'm not seeing until I said no. I don't do those kind of bullshit because it doesn't suit the context. That's why I said I don't know if they do exist, but for me, they exist in the air, but practically they don't exist as per se. Why do I say so? Under normal conditions, we are looking at trade unions or associations that are supposed to beef up the shortcomings of media practitioners. Right. You cannot tell me which seats we are. I remember the English-speaking association of CANAL. They could get angry if they like. It's the truth. And we sit for a whole year and we wait to call a French special envoy mission to come to Douala and speak for a few minutes after the whole year. He's not even a journalist in the first place. I would have expected bona fide journalists who have stood the test of time to come and tell us about our profession in that matter. I did not see it. All I saw was cooking and ordering drinks from one of the companies for drinking. So what am I saying here? Because I'm categorical about it. And I will tell them today, tomorrow, and the day after, because I regret why I even joined the association, because if I don't see it producing what it's supposed to be. Now, what are we saying here? When we have associations of digital autonomous as we speak, the question is, are the journalists, do they have good working conditions in the first place? No. Associations are supposed to work hand in glove with the governments, if they claim that to work, to ensure that these guys live well. I've been in Nigeria several times. I went to one of the meetings there in Cross River State, and I was surprised that the radio technician, the technician, the person was called the audio console. That's this person who came in the vehicle. Where? At Calabar. And so I started asking myself, and they told me this is an audio console technician of the radio who comes with his vehicle, parks it, leaves his files behind. Now, how many journalists have vehicles? So these associations are supposed to work to ensure that these media organs or these media houses that employ these guys keep the research, because when the journalist is poor, that's when it becomes vulnerable with these civilian guys and other dirty hand guys who have to call them up, buy them off to speak jargons against somebody else, killing the profession. On the other hand, the so-called foolish trade unions, as they call themselves, who are also there in any capacity, are also another set of hoodlums of organizations. Why do I say so? In the more as we move along, how many of these associations, the last time I saw some of them, they said they were the Prime Minister. I was getting the feedback to today. Guys who went, took photos with the Prime Minister and collected money, because I know when you go so many ventures. So we have become beggars. We accuse these chiefs day in, day out, of following the terms of CPDM to look for money, when journalists are the worst. I mean the worst. Because what will an organization move to see the government without giving feedback till today? And the number of conversations, I've never gotten any feedback concerning that meeting. I only got posters while they were snapping the Prime Minister. Is that where we end snapping the government officials and putting minutes at the background? The associations and the what they call them, a syndicate or whatever, if it has to do with journalism in Cameroon, they are all dead.
I'll come to Radio Augusto. Let me find out from you. How is the proliferation of media organs in Cameroon helping the situation here for a place for them to take its course?
Well, the media pluralism is simply a sign, a signal of at least move towards democracy. You know, when we have more media outlets, we have more mouths that can stand, more voices that can stand out there for the people. It's really unfortunate that in our context we have the situation which is rather causing harm on the livelihood of the people in the media industry. Fatan was very correct on this point when he said the associations are not helping. We have many media houses, even though Cameroon cannot be compared to some other countries like Nigeria with the proliferation of those media houses. Cameroon, we are still young. In Bamenda, for instance, we don't have a TV station in Bamenda, a TV station like CANAL. We don't have it. So you can imagine it's still a bare ground where media investors could use the opportunity. But of course, the very few ones that are cropping up are in terms of print media and the radio. And those, as they're coming up, we have those investors, media investors who employ unskilled labor, and they are even unable to pay. Trade unions, finally, was making a very good remark there. They don't work we don't have good trade unions as far as journalism is concerned in Cameroon that can stand and negotiate for their members. that you, Mr. Employer of Mbakuju to cannabis or that, you have to cater for his health care services. You have to make sure you have holiday for rest, weekend for days, good pay. Your mom was talking about 6,000. Some of them pay less than even 20,000 to media workers. Folks who go out there, stick their legs to get news, go through all the risks that Jamaica went through to die in 2018, and yet you go beyond below 25,000. I must say this: it's total, it's calamitous.
Okay, Wendell Gossin, proliferation of media organs in Cameroon. Many people believe that most of these media organs are put in place by top members of government in order to kill the press.
I want to come back to say that proliferation of media organs is not press freedom. Secondly, I want to say that, gangstering in the noble profession comes with this creation of multiplicity of media organs. Those who are rendering the profession or putting it into mud are not even the young ones that are joining the profession.
That's right.
Let me tell you that the dark cabinet in Cameroon deals with the so-called director de publication, director of publishing houses, publishers, and those you might have found have gone through the finest schools of journalism in this country. They are the ones enriching themselves to the detriment of media practitioners. I want to tell you that it comes a time you were asking whether they are. Look, at one moment we must come to valorize ourselves. That for me to be debased, I better sweep the street. I better push the truck in order to make ends meet. Because if you want to give the impression or go for stardom, whereas you cannot pay your room, whereas you cannot send your child to school, whereas you cannot even go to the hospital and afford a quinine, you better cease belonging to such a media outfit. It's not enough to pass around for a journalist, and you are treating with disdain. That is my problem. Tayon Ellis talked about association and syndicates. I am one, Augustine Wendu-Ndoye. I'm one who have refused association of merry-making when my brothers and sisters are being slaughtered. No communiques, no concerted effort to say that this is what is on the ground. We as journalists belonging to this association denies it. That is not supposed to happen. Some will say that when you say like that, what happened? What do you mean? A lot has been happening with what we are saying on the media in this country. And I want to tell you that I proudly belong to one syndicate because I could see that syndicate mobilize forces when the journalist is touched. Alright? All is not black, but I want to say that syndicate leaders, if I discover that I belong to any outfit or any journalist syndicate union, trade union, and I find that the leader is self-centered, I leave that very moment because I'm there for the cause. I'm there for a purpose.
Okay, thank you so much. We'll take a little transition. We shall be back to take our second topic of the day. This week, the chiefs, traditional rulers of the southwest region of the country, wrote a letter or a release indicating that they are not going to respect the decision of the orders of the governor of the southwest of Cameroon. Bernard Okala-Bilai instructed them last week for them to come out on the 20th of May and march with placards with their subject lined up behind them. They say this is against their tradition and they are not going to respect that. We'll be talking more on that. Time for Elvis, let's start with you. You are just coming from the southwest region of the country. What has been the talk in there following the release signed by chiefs of the southwest of Cameroon?
Well, you can see from my look, I'm in black, telling you that I am mourning because culture has been touched. And so if I'm mourning, alongside with our chiefs in the southwest region, it tells you that all is not going. But then, on Friday, of course, I was with them. I was with them, obviously, and of course, you know, in one of the villages in Boya there, it was quite an interesting one because we took some time with the traditional rulers who were present. There were more than 40 of them on seat, and they had to carry out some traditional rites as custom demands to get some verification from the gods because they knew that something is wrong somewhere. And at the end of that serious come together, of course, it would have been more than that. But you know that some of them boycotted the issue and went to Yaoundé for the burial of Zamtoa. So those who had maybe connections with land issues, which I don't want to get into with that. But then those who were present, I'm concerned with those who were present because I was there. And you know, after carrying out some traditional rites, they came out with the fact that the gods are angry, that the chiefs have been given a slap on the face and tradition. And so while the gods were angry, there was some traditional display, and of course, you know that in one of the chiefs there, just like many of them, many of them were even barebody because they had to follow, move according to the customs and traditions out there. And you know, at Boissa, where the whole issue was getting very hot in the village there, at the end of the exercise, away from the traditional display, I don't want to get into detail because their spokesperson will explain that sometime in their outings. But now I realized that tradition has been revived in the southwest because they were still categorical on that, because when they say the gods are angry on that and the gods needs to be appeased. Now I don't want to go into how the gods need to be appeased, but surely the person who gave the statement surely needs to redress things as fast as possible. And the testing of that traditional rights and the coming together to show the gods were angry was accompanied by a violent wind. I repeat, a violent wind that Boya has never witnessed before. And with the violent wind, then came thunderous and serious rain. So abrupt, I heard it extended to parts of Littoral and parts of Northwest region. But then, as a custodian of culture, I could fully confirm that something was wrong because the atmosphere was really not usual as per se.
Abdul Karim, what can push the governor of the southwest region of Cameroon to ask traditional rulers to march on the 20th of May? This has not happened before.
Well, you know, if you give a mouse a piece of cookie, he's going to ask a glass of milk. This is a clown who insulted those parents of ours. He said, let the dogs keep their dogs home. I will never forget this statement. And our parents seem to be the dogs because they are still dining with the devil on the table. So they are getting what they get. They gave the mouse a cookie, biscuit, and then he ate. Definitely he's going to ask for a glass of milk. What prompted him is overzealousness. And you know, this is no more colonialism, this is slavery. It is not only an insult to the chiefs and us, but I want to tell these chiefs to stop. They should allow the gods alone if there's any concept of gods. They should ask themselves how they got us there. We know our chiefs and fawns are the head of our land. The clowns in the northern zone had called Mr. Biya the fawn of fawns. I don't know where there's any fawn of fawns. I don't understand that concept. These ones here have, no, look, we had our chiefs. The British, when they came here, they studied our lifestyle and saw how structured and organized our fondoms and kingdoms are under the chieftaincies and the fondoms. They realized, look, there is no need implementing something much. Let's just use indirect rule. These guys are in order. Whatever we bring, let's just throw it through their tunnel. And that is how Anglo-Saxonism and our traditional customs were maintained. We now come into this nonsense called federalism. which past federalism went to this nonsense, this dubious one called unionship in 1972. And then later on, these guys now have the audacity to train a few more clowns in Enam and call them chefs, the head of our lands. Our chiefs have to be ratified by them. And bring another one called the governor. So you see where the impetus comes. The question I have, can the Douala chiefs be told to do that? To hold placards and let their subjects be behind them? Can the Yaoundé chiefs told to do that? Can the chiefs in the south be told to do that? It is simply because people think we are nothing. But this is the end of the road. We are everything. And we're telling these chiefs, they have not seen anything from the winds. I hope and I pray that that wind actually came for them. They took us there. And if you see the nonsense communique they replied, they still said they are there to obey national activities. They're still plantain in their mouth, plantain, ekwang, and water. They are still speaking, it's not coming out. This is what they should know. We hold our chiefs responsible. This is a man who called all of us dogs. He has the audacity, and he comes, he says he's a governor of a place where he has eaten so fat, his belly is this big, the jaws are out there. He was asking the chief senior clerk of fools, Ekema. He was asking him, how many villages do you have here? This is an administrator who doesn't know where he's administrating. He doesn't know how many villages are in Goya or in Fako. Ekema doesn't know also. All of them don't know. And these are the people that are being placed on us. The people who sit over our heads, they know why they are sitting. And all we need to do, man, this is a table. People are sitting on it. We are under. Southern Cameroonians, all you need to do is do what? Stand up. The table will turn over. But we cannot do that when we have enablers. These chiefs, that win should really come for them.
Wendell Augustine, the chiefs are spoken. They are not going to march on the 20th of May, and they are really, like Taifa mentioned there, the gods are angry. What should we expect from the governor of the Southwest?
Before the utterances of Governor Okala Bilai Bernard, I think the people of Southern Cameroon have been waiting for an apology from him for too long, and the apology is overdue. You know, there's an over-seriousness of new converts. Somebody who is due retirement. The only thing, I don't expect anything from him to do any longer. I expect something to be done by the chiefs. Outright boycott of May 20th. So that President Biya should know that he had put a wrong person to administer his people, so that he should be sent packing to his home. Because if we are talking about Cameroon being one and indivisible, somebody with a temporal leadership would act traditional audience, which we consider as with divine rights with divine rights, being it in the northwest or in the southwest region. Imagine that you ask the phone of Babungo, His Royal Highness, from Sofwan Ndofwa III, that he should carry a placard and march. You are telling me that you have erased the village of Babungo. It no longer exists. Then it's an insult to my birthright. Alright? Because we respect our phones. I mean, they have divine right. We believe that God anointed them kings from birth. How can somebody, an administrator, a seasoned administrator, I expect, but he had gone beyond his limit. Karimo just said that, let the raft, if at all there is the raft of the ancestors, it should be haunting any chief who want to continue bastardizing the culture of the people. All right? I think that it is time for the traditional institutions of the Northwest and the Southwest region, being in of Cameroon, because they are not supposed to be, ball leaguers. They are not supposed. The subjects of every chiefdom or every fondom is sufficient to cater for their funds and for their chiefs. Even auxiliaries of government is to become surrogate or francs.
Yeah, of course, that's the problem.
Better deny the 200,000 francs.
It's 50.
No, because it's categorized.
It's 50.
150.
Yes.
That's right.
All these ones are 50.
But I want to say that the government should not do this in bad faith. And I don't think that somebody instructed the governor to be, because how many governors are in Cameroon? There are 10. Why is it that it's only one who has become so sarcastic and a non-respecter of traditional custodians?
That is a question. Mbako Jute, raw statistics shows that out of 10 traditional rulers we have in Cameroon, 7 of them are politicians. Is that giving some administrators that impetus to control them as if they are controlling politicians?
Like Abdul Karim was just shouting here, that money palaver, that issue of payment, the government has just tagged them as auxiliaries to administration, and because of the money, the 50 or the 100,000 pounds they're talking about here, they automatically become members of
like civil servants.
Like civil servants. In Cameroon, you cannot be a member of government without being part of the winning team. The winning team is the Cameroon People Democratic Movement. That is the winning team,
which is now failing. Which has failed.
It has failed for over the years, and that's why we are where we are today. So it has transformed most of our traditional, in fact, almost all. The traditional rulers, by their very nature, I want to go back to where Abdul Karim traced history. He made it very clear with the British. We are Anglo-Saxons. Let's get things straight. We are not talking these things because personally, not because I'm from this part of the country. Yes. Let's get history straight. We are Anglo-Saxons, and within the days of British colonial rule and French rule in Cameroon, we understand that the French believed so much in superficial power. They had absolute power. They could control from Paris, from the houses of. But the British man came with an indirect rule, like he rightly said, and our chiefs were the first people, the first local people who were able to govern their people. So when these colonial masters came with these colonial offices of governor, we didn't know us the governor, we didn't know DO, LGO, government delegate, all those are colonial offices that have come now, and they are local authorities here who think that power is all they have. They now take and then turn it against us. I think our chiefs have become, unfortunately, very political, and the area will put a stop to that. Our cultural heritage, our heritage as Anglo-Saxon, it's being washed. Let me vividly recall what happened with artifacts from the palaces of the Northwest region with Amatu Tumuna. Those are monuments. Our chiefs themselves are monuments. Multiculturalizing Commission, which has just been created by President Paul Biya to ensure that we live together, Ministry of Living Together, is there working tooth and nail to ensure that Cameroon is one and indivisible and live together. Another man is there at the same moment using a sword to slaughter the culture of one people. This is, I don't know whether it's hate or it's witchcraft, but it should be one amongst both, because we cannot be pretending that we are in Cameroon, we are Cameroonians, and then we totally want to annihilate the other people. It's so terrible. And I think that the earlier we understand ourselves and trace history, Cameroon will either never be the same after this crisis. Either Cameroon goes a separate way and be cool, or it remains the same and be the best country for all of us.
Time for Elvis, we know that traditional rulers are not chosen by human beings, they are chosen by gods. After all this intimidation of the traditional rulers of the Southwest, people expected the subjects that they rule over to react. Why are the people of the Southwest silent about this?
This is a very good question, but let me come on what Bako just said. I heard he said bilingualism, multiculturalism, working for us living together. Or is it living together? No. They are working for us to be apart. Thank you for that one. I know you said without knowing. Because, while coming to answer this question, why the people in the Southwest are quiet, the main issue here, just like we're saying, is that while I answer the question, I want to let you know that the hopeless commission for bilingualism and multiculturalism has failed because I thought multiculturalism, I would have heard them saying something here. Because they have issued now another redundant and expired Ministry of Culture was supposed to have spoken also.
That's right.
They too are quiet. So you see, that's why I said that the whole system is confused. And now, that's the punishment they get. Now let's come back down to the issue of why the guys in the Southwest, or the elite, you know that in the colonial system, which is operating now, they have instilled the system of fear. You understand? Now with that system of fear now, even people who expect them to talk are not even willing to talk for the fear of the unknown. Now that is what the French government likes, the spirit of intimidation, so that you don't talk and at the end they lord over you. Now with the people in the Southwest, I have been fighting the fight for the people of the Southwest because I think that we have a common direction where we're going, where we're coming from and where we're going to. The northern zones, the southern zones. That's why I don't want to come and tell probably why should I cross over to fight a fight for them. I was in Bossa. It is more of my fight as I speak, because I said earlier that any chief that I personally see him coming out with a placard and with something behind him, both him and that something is wrong with the middle of Mogata, I will surely have to call for medics that after the match pass they take out of them for medical checkup, because something will surely be wrong. Now, for the simple reason that people decide to be quiet, the only good thing I keep on saying is that some of us have spoken because it concerns us, and most of the chiefs are now reacting. But I queued what AFRIK-CINEMA said a while ago. We must be able to trace why should the governor have all the audacity until hearing the GO of Buea Central too has also issued his own communique talking about like threats on the chiefs. It means that while the governor should be licking his wounds on what has happened, I am surprised that even people below, in terms of hierarchy, are still claiming to talk to show that they are still breathing. This is another monumental error committed by these administrators over there. So at the long run, when you look at what is transpiring, we are at the crossroad, as I said earlier, and the chiefs have taken the destiny into their hands. Now, for the past time, I've been on media platforms castigating that issue and standing behind the chief. And this time I'm expecting people originally from the area, just like that's what you should expect. That's what your question is telling us. People originally from the area, what we call autochthones from the area, to equally queue with us. I cannot be fighting a fight for somebody and the person look at me, but the chiefs themselves are already on. And so the good thing I said from the meeting at Boassa and the traditional right, like AFRIK-CINEMA said, we should be hoping that the wins do not come for them for their own error, because in the long run, you asked a good question to Baku, because the political issue. And as I said, I've been carrying out, like a radio journalist, interview with the ones in the North and Southwest. I want to ask, why are you supposed to be into party politics? The chiefs who are fitting fat from the regime, the CPDM will tell me, it's their fundamental right to belong to a political party. But I think that this is a signal that the chiefs leave political parties aside. Whether it's which party, back out completely, because you have subjects who belong to various parties that you are supposed to even welcome. And so in this case, the Southwest chiefs are on a no retreat, no surrender. I can assure you that from what I saw, and I think the days ahead will be pregnant.
AFRIK-CINEMA, we know how in Cameroon today, when a chief dies, we have seen people struggling who will become the next chief, and the process is always very dubious to select a new chief to take over a particular village. Have that weakened the fandoms in such a way that administrators have some sort of a grip on what they say and what they do?
Yeah. Just quickly before that, again, is Mr. Mbaku, right?
Yes.
Oh yeah. I have to rebut what you said. Finishing on your last statement, I got so flabbergasted with what you said, saying that it's either going to be we live together or either. Man, brother, you said you're coming from the northern zone and you're a journalist. You're underreporting. Okay, let me just refresh your mind for Southern Cameroons. It's 57 years of colonialism after colonialism. From 2016 till today, we have more than 5,000 Southern Cameroonians dead. We have more than 215 villages razed. We have more than 150,000 refugees. We have more than 1,200 in jail. We have your colleague Mancho BBC still in jail. Makati just left 3-4 months ago.
Our Thomas.
Let me finish. I'm giving you statistics. We have more than 600,000 internally displaced, most of which are your sisters who are prostitutes here in Douala. They don't have a choice. Some of them are working under serious demeaning situations in restaurants and bars. They don't have a choice. They're here. My brother, that didn't happen so that anything should remain the same. The business with La République de Cameroon, the prostitution between La République de Cameroon is over. That's to correct that. And again, when you see this is why when you come and with all this information that you must have as a journalist, and you think we are still stupid to maintain a status quo like that, so somebody might just, okay, so you see the enabling language. Coming to your question, look, France is a very wicked country, but they are also smart. You see, this is why La République has an academy to manage, especially FACO. These guys are not interested in you and me. It's about the resources. So this is why they have this academy. INAM, AFRIK. They train these guys to come and assimilate us. And lo and behold, they've succeeded in assimilating many of our chiefs and fonts. So much so that some even speak French in the palaces. So the influence is so clear that don't be surprised that they will say they are the ones to tell us who a chief would be someday. We should get it so clearly. It's a system to assimilate, and they are succeeding. But the good thing is that this generation is called the never again generation. Against ourselves, against our chiefs, against our fonts, against our parents. We stand for justice. And that's what the Quran says in Surah Anfal chapter number 8. That even if it means against who, you stand for justice in witness of God. So this is the position. I don't want to dwell in that question. You know what is up. These chiefs, to say something on the question you asked, Brother Time right there. The thing is this. It's not about fear. They are not really afraid. Our chiefs are warriors. Those are brave hearts. They have eaten soya. What we need is we need to buy toothpick and give them. And they have taken guns and shot themselves on the legs. My message for our chiefs, most of you have shot yourselves on the legs. We are ready to help you bring out those bullets. But you must extend your hands back to us.
That is the question I was coming to you. How do we bring back the authority of the fondoms, the authorities of the palaces, their independence? How should they rebuild that, given that with a lot of influence from the administration, they seem to be falling?
Yes, I think that is simple. The chiefs have the subjects, and the subjects should protect the cultural heritage of every fondom, of every chiefdom. Because if you allow it only in the hands of the chiefs, they are going to be subversive. Politicking, like they are talking about neo-colonialism that has manned it over traditional authorities in Cameroon. Once a chief, in fact, I grew up and I saw the sub-chief of Babungo. He was, an opened traditional custodian. Whoever comes in, be you the CPDM, be you the SDM, be you coming from any other political party, he opens the doors of his palace. He received every political party, and he will tell you, I am your father. Okay? And he will tell his subject, you know who can help in voting. He had never, a kind of teleguide the conscience of anybody. I think that is the neutral position the chiefs and the phones should stand for. And all the subjects, if you find that the traditional leader, custodian of any fondom or a chiefdom is trying to sell cheap the tradition of the people, they have the prerogative to say no. Do you know that there are folks that have been dethroned by their subjects?
Yeah, why not? Yes.
Do you know that? Oh, come on. If the subjects say no, if you do this, you're not going to be our chief any longer. You're not going to be our phone any longer. Like Diane said, I want to deny in total, because His Grace Samuel Clay, that the Metropolitan Archbishop of Douala, once said, and I quote, the incurable illness in Cameroonians is fear. The incurable illness in Cameroonians is is fear.
But do you think it will be possible for a subject to dethrone their chief when we know that when a chief is put in place, the government need to endorse that? They take the traditional ruler to the divisional officer to
of course, I can cite you.
To give him a civil status.
A civil status.
Yes, to give him a civil status. I am
Is that not hamper with the process of getting?
If the people, I know a village I don't want to mention here,
yes,
that dethrone their phone and the administration.
Why would you not Bangu land?
Administration. No, I'm talking about Bamali was first. Bamali was first. And the civil administration said they are rejecting them. But down the road, they will be compared to. Because the throne will come back to the throne when. Remember that it is not administration or civil law that is coming to perform traditional rituals to enthrone a phone or a chief. Remember that there are inner courts in every forum called the nobility. If the nobility rejects and say, no, this man cannot be on this throne, if he comes and sit there, it's a traditional sacrilege, and he will not live. He will die. Do you know that? So the thing is that the voice of the people is the voice of God. And if we are saying that we are in a democratic dispensation, the powers that be must go with the majority. We must go with the people in order for peace to reign. To end is that the administration should stop interfering when a chief or a firm is supposed to be enthroned. Let them, because in the Northwest region is hereditary. If you are not from the royal blood, you cannot inherit the palace.
You don't even dream about that.
You cannot dream about that.
No, it's not your thing.
How do you expect the governor? Some people think that the governor now need to apologize to the traditional rulers that he has wronged in his statements.
The governor is already up there. From his attitude, is up there. And if you read, of course, we've read the letter from the DO.
The divisional officer of Boya subdivision.
If an ordinary DO can write such a hate letter, insultive letter to the chiefs of the Southwest region, I wonder what you expect even the governor now to say. Because I don't expect an apology. Cameroon has never been a country where people have that people-oriented leadership mentality. The administration, it's always right in everything they do. Even if Okaya Bernard, even if he is sorry for what he did, I'm not sure he'll come out to say that. I am sorry. It's an attitude which the government has since time.
Thank you so much. We'll take a little transition. We shall be right back. Thanks for staying with us. In a two-page document, AFRIK-CINEMA-TV Julius in his prison cell mentioned that he has dissolved the caretaker interim government that was put in place after his incarceration. That was in 2018. That document came like a bombshell as many people reacted to it differently. Let me start with Adu Karim. What was your reaction when you read through that particular document signed by AFRIK-CINEMA-TV Julius?
You know, Mahatma Gandhi said patience is actually self-suffering, self-endurance. But he says patience doesn't mean you should stop doing something. It means you should be doing it surely and slowly while waiting. And exactly, I think that's the message in the Bible, in the book of Galatians chapter number 6, verse number 9. It says, do not be weary of doing good, simply because there are a few people who don't agree with you. Keep on doing it and the reward will come. It's repeated in the book of Psalms, Psalm 37, verse number 7. It says, stay still with the Lord and be patient with God and hope for the best and so on. Yeah, so that's my position, and that's the position I'm calling all Southern Cameroonians. My first reaction, being on social media, I didn't believe the paper because I trust the intellect of IP, AFRIK-CINEMA-TV, as well as AIP, SACO. I trust all their intellect, not forgetting the rest of the NERA 10. So seeing the document, I didn't take it seriously. I just read it as I read anything online. But later on get to understand that it came from that. We see that what I'm saying, we extremely have to be patient. These are trying moments for Southern Cameroonians, and I think we should hold ourselves together. My provocation right now, Mr. Meme, when I come to TV like this after invitations, people see me on Facebook and they message me inbox, IDPs, women who are put to bed, they don't have children, they don't have anything to support themselves with the children, some who have been displaced and they don't have rent. I have messages on my phone for that, some calling and they're suffering. So I have this humanitarian issue which is bothering me. I'm sure a revolution is not politics, and I'm not a politician. I've never aspired to be one, and I will not be in one. Those who are in politics in the revolution may handle the political side. It's not an event for me, but I'm rest assured that Southern Cameroonians, altogether 10 million plus, are bigger than conspiracy theories. They are bigger than confusion. But this is it. I don't blame anyone. I don't blame anything. I thank God for revealing, because when you pray to God in Islam, you ask Him to do two things for you. There's something we call istikhara, which means you do a supplication and a prayer, and then you tell God, at the end of the day, I'm leaving it to you. Pretty exactly like what Jesus Christ did in the book of Matthew 26:39, where it says, Father, I pray that you take this cup off me, but not according to my will, but thy will. So whatever, we still say, okay, whatever God wills, let it happen. I see this is revealing for us. You know, a people who've been under a tyrannic regime for 57 years, and then a barbaric government for 37 years, and then who have their brothers proliferated by assimilation, and who have sellout in their midst, what do you expect? You expect to see all these things, all these actions and reactions. But what matters to me is the rest of the people. What do we think? Do we want to put ourselves in a pond of arguments we have no mastery about? I say no. The flag is there, we're going to look at it. The territory is there, that is what our focus is. Especially the humanitarian part, our people are suffering and dying. That is the big picture, and inshallah, God willing, water shall find its level. That later is going to play whatever role is supposed to play, and God is going to bring the best responses, and no further division is going to come between any camp. People try their best, but Allah says in the Quran, the plan, the devils. This was actually referring to Jesus Christ. The plan to destroy Jesus, God is saying, the Jews and the Romans, and God also plans, but God is the best of planner. So I'm asking Southern Cameroonians we have to pray a lot at this time. Let's stop making inferences. Let's stop making conclusions. We are told in the Quran in Surah Hujurat, chapter number 49, verse number 6, that if you hear about a matter, check it out before you pass it to another person. I'm sure that's journalism, right?
Sure.
Check. So
equally on the social media, don't just share. Time for this. What role can this particular letter from Ayuk Tabejilo play in the present struggle?
Well, the truth is that the letter has its own role to play. It has its own impact. There were some who were really downcasted based on that letter. There were already counter-claims and accusations as to why should probably somebody in detention write a letter of that nature. So everybody had everybody has a reason to reason the way he did following the outcome of that letter. But now I look at it at a different angle. One, I first of all understand, probably because of my media background, that during periods of conflict or war, there is propaganda on the move. That's the first thing I understand. Then the second thing that came into my mind is, if the letter came from Ayuk Tabe Siseko, next question is, was he under his normal mind? Was he under duress? Those are possibilities that could have come, because you never can tell, because nobody was there when the letter was coming out. Probably nobody could assure us whether he has a laptop in the cell, whether he has all of that. So there are many things that are along the line. So because of the surrounding circumstances that are not very clear, because if you're under duress, you can write a letter and sign. It depends. When you are under torture, probably they put a needle around you and things like that, or you're under electric shock and all the like. So those things are very possible. We're in a government that is possible to do whatever that they can do. Everything is possible. So when the letter came out, it's true. There were some people who felt disgusted. Some who were probably against Dr. Sako, who were happy. Those who were for Dr. Sako, who were not happy. And so, but the main thing is that there's the truth. The truth is what carries everything along. Now, in the truth of a revolution that is focused, you realize that even if some people stagger, it is part of the revolution. The main point is that a revolution that is based on truth, even if people stagger, it's a matter of time. They will pick up the truth and sail through. And so some of us who looked at it, we were able not to be too worried as probably the way others could worry, maybe because of our journalism background, as I said. But one point is for sure that the revolution has genuine course. I repeat, a genuine course that you cannot, even you bring Gole or the highest philosophers, they will not change the course of it or to tell that it's a wrong course. So in that case, because even those who are Anglophones working in the government in Yaoundé, they know the truth and they know that this course is genuine, deep in their mind. So as a result of that, I think we are working is a matter of time because, but I think that from every indication, the delivery of the results in the revolution has been stated, and God himself, or Allah, knows the result, and the result must come to be.
Now, Mbako, do you think that particular letter will put in place order? We have seen, ambassador leaders in the diaspora conflicting ideas. We have seen controversial posts on the social media, one challenging another. Can the letter put order in that particular sector?
Yes. If you look at the caliber of persons who are in for this struggle, the leadership of the struggle, you realize that, like Abdul Karim said, it's a whole group of intellectuals. Nobody is a stupid person in that group, be it from those in the prison there in Kondengi or in the diaspora, wherever. All of them are level-headed people. But you understand that when you have a world of evil like this which you're living, and you have to pass through hell to achieve your aims, it becomes very difficult to have some things put in place. If Sisiko, who is the legitimate, I must say, the legitimate leader of the Ambazonians, if he is incarceration and has taken upon himself to reinstate his power, for me, I don't see any problem with that. It's very okay. And what I'm hoping is that if somebody is playing the drum somewhere, thinking that doing that can put into somewhere and then the revolution dies, you are just dreaming, because it definitely will not work on from what you see on ground.
Mr. Wendon, the question many people are asking is coordinating the struggle from the prison.
Yes, I think that Mandela was in prison for 27 good years. The ANC struggle became stronger. Okay? I want to tell you that a credible leader should be a visionary. A credible leader should be flexible. A credible leader is not stagnant. A credible leader does not think that his opinion lords all other opinions. And my take with the struggle, with the Anglophone struggle in Cameroon, have been the issue of factions. Because divided we fall, and united we stand. If those in the diaspora will have factions, this one is conflicting with this, you want to tell me that the struggle can be possible? No, I think that Seseko Ayu letter come to lay to rest the issue of power struggle, the issue of who leads the struggle. And I want to say that from prison, you and I here, are we not speaking the truth? We are on this panel speaking nothing but the truth. We are not inventing anything here. And I think that it is about the truth, because the truth is as stubborn as you can think. You can never kill the truth. But once you have conflicting and, factions in every revolution, it becomes compromising. But once you have a credible leadership with vision, with objectivity, with stamina, that can inspire, hope, there is the possibility. So me, I'm thinking that with the issue of those talking differently in the diaspora. Ayub Tabe is in incarceration in Cameroon. He's in Cameroon. Though some are now playing to the gallery saying that, he's not a Cameroonian, but we know his compound in Manu. We know that he has been, he's a Cameroonian, an Anglophone Cameroonian. So I think that, if the struggle is the Anglophone struggle, have to have a way out. All of us as media men, we have seen these polemics. If they want to negotiate, they will negotiate with who? I think that led to rest. That myth. So I think that incredible and focused leadership is better for the struggle than today we are getting this one talking on social media.
Okay, so you mean
let me interject. Let me very quickly. I don't have the liberty to say a lot here. I don't even watch my lenience at home, outside, talk less of watching dirty lenience. There are certain things one will not discuss on the panel, is better said behind. But I'll address 2 points that is said about nationality for Sisiko and then who to negotiate with. Oh yes, let's not forget, whatever letter, until I speak with Sisiko, I've not spoken with him for 3 years. Until I speak with him, I've not accepted that letter from him to begin with. But the letter says that the cabinet, not the IG, the cabinet should go back to the cabinet before they were abducted. Before let me finish this, please. It's very important. It's very important for the public. So the cabinet, not IG. So IG stands, and whoever wants to negotiate, the IG stands. So IG is not one person or 2 people or 100 people. IG stands, an institution. And then talking about nationality, I hope you know about asylum. When you take asylum, I hope you know what that means. But besides asylum, listen to me. The only time you and I had the eligibility to become a Cameroonian, to have a national identity card, listen to me, was after 11 of February 1961. Before then, the text of French Cameroon Constitution says the only citizen has to come from French Cameroon. So we entered into federation before we could be called Cameroonians. And now logic, this is history. Let me ask you logic. When federation was tortured, what happens to that nationality?
That's the unanswered question. We're less than 5 minutes to the end of the question. Just a quick round. I want you to comment on the recent report of International Crisis Group that tells Cameroon to shift from our original position of decentralization so as for dialogue to take its course.
Beautiful. I think that the issue that the state or the power that be is saying, the form of state can never be touched, to me is repugnant, because it was never put into referendum before the form of state was changed. So the form of state can still come to table for debate, for dialogue, in order that we can move forward.
Time for Elvis. International Crisis Group thinks that weekly Monday goes down, periodic lockdown, like equally school boycott by separatist fighters should stop for dialogue to take its course.
They are not even serious. Tell them that they are not serious. Because International Crisis Group did not come for 1 month. They came to find out things, and they are finding out things. They should also give the other conditions for the government to follow. Then they will do their job. Yep. They don't come to look for one party, 2 persons are in the conflict. They are advising the other party, and then the other party is case not mentioned. International Crisis Group, they are not serious. Let them get back to do what they're supposed to do.
The International Crisis Group equally mentioned that countries will start imposing bans on members of government and the equally top military men that are feeling detention for them not to travel, and they equally freeze their assets. Is that a good move towards compelling the government to come to the dialogue table?
I think for me, all those groups, all those international organizations, all those things, they are making too much noise. We need action. We need a ground action. They come and anyhow they make their noise and go back. We need action on the ground. So let it transform those too much talking into reality.
Now, Abdul Karim, can the International Crisis Group help in this particular situation with all their publications about the crisis?
A very good question. Help, which means assist. Yes, they can assist us. But Southern Cameroonians, listen to me. It is up to you. God has brought your independence, your liberation to your hands. I want to say something. Remember, do you know not more than 100 people control this world? The real people who call the shots, not more than 100 people. It's about interest. Especially the white man, they don't really care. You put your cards on the table, they choose which one to pick. Now, Southern Cameroonians, you have to put your cards on the table. In all honesty,
Study your history, look at the trend, be honest about it. I say we don't need a serious debate about this issue. Our facts are very clear, but rise up to yourself, rise up for your neighbor, and speak the truth. This is where freedom lies. Thank you so much.
We have a Cameroonian problem. Let it be a Cameroonian solution. I don't want foreign intervention.
Thank you so much, gentlemen, for coming. We thank all our technicians for a beautiful program this day. If you miss out, watch the rebroadcast from 11:30 a.m. on Sunday. I am Dominic. Nice weekend.